Hello friends, welcome back to our channel கதை கேட்போம் வாங்க. The first law, make it obvious. The man who didn't look right. The psychologist Gary Klein once told me a story about a woman who attended a family gathering. She had spent years working as a paramedic and upon arriving at the event, took one look at her father-in-law and got very concerned. I don't like the way you look, she said. Her father in law, who was feeling perfectly fine, jokingly replied, well, I don't look like your looks either. No, she insisted. You need to go to the hospital now. A few hours later, a man was undergoing life saving surgery after an examination had revealed that he had a blockage to a major artery and was at immediate risk of a heart attack. Without his daughter in law's intuition, he could have died. What did the paramedic see? How did she predict his impending heart attack? When major arteries are obstructed, the body focuses on sending blood to the critical organs and away from peripheral locations near the surface of the skin. The result is a change in the pattern of distribution of blood in the face. After many years of working with people with heart failure, the woman had unknowingly developed the ability to recognize this pattern on sight. She couldn't explain what it was that she noticed in her father in law's face, but she knew something was wrong. Similar stories exist in other fields. For example, military analysts can identify which blip on a radar screen is an enemy missile and which one is a plane from their own fleet, even though they are traveling at the same speed, flying at the same altitude, and looking identical on radar in nearly every respect. During the Gulf War, Lieutenant Commander Michael Riley saved an entire battleship when he ordered a missile shot down despite the fact that it looked exactly like the battleship's own planes on radar. He made the right call, but even his superiors officers couldn't explain how he did it. Museum curators have been known to discern the difference between an authentic piece of art and an expertly product counterfeit, even though they can't tell you precisely which details tip them off. Experienced radiologists can look at a brain scan and predict the area where a stroke will develop before any obvious signs are visible to the untrained eye. I have even heard of hairdressers noticing whether a client is pregnant based only on the feel of her hair. The human brain is a prediction machine. It is continuously taking in your surroundings and analyzing the information it comes across. Whenever you experience something repeatedly, like a paramedic seeing the face of a heart attack patient or a military analyst seeing a missile on a radar screen, your brain begins noticing what is important, sorting through the details, and highlighting the relevant cues and cataloging the information for further use. With enough practice, you can pick up on the cues that predict certain outcomes without consciously thinking about it. Automatically, your brain encodes the lessons learned through experience. We can't always explain what it is we are learning, but learning is happening all along the way, and your ability to notice the relevant cues is a given situation is the foundation for every habit you have. We underestimate how much our brains and bodies can do without thinking. You do not tell your hair to grow, your heart to pump, your lung to breathe, or your stomach to digest. And yet, your body handles all this and more on autopilot. You are much more than your conscious self. Consider hunger. How do you know when you are hungry? You don't necessarily have to see a cookie on the counter to realize that it is time to eat. Appetite and hunger are governed unconsciously. Your body has a variety of feedback loops that gradually alert you when it is time to eat again and that track what is going on around you and within you. Craving can arise thanks to hormones and chemicals circulating through your body. Suddenly you are hungry even though you are not quite sure what tipped you off. This is one of the most surprising insights about your habits. You don't need to be aware of the cue for the habit to begin. You can notice an opportunity and take action without dedicating conscious attention to it. It is what makes habits useful. It is also what makes them dangerous. As habit forms, your actions comes under the direction of your automatic and non-conscious mind. You fall into old patterns before you realize what's happening. Unless someone point it out, you may not notice that you cover your mouth with your hand whenever you laugh, that you apologize before asking a question, or you have a habit of finishing other people's sentences. And the more you repeat these patterns, the less likely you become to question what you are doing and why you are doing it. I once heard of a retail clerk who was instructed to cut up empty gift cards after consumers had used up the balance on the card. One day, the clerk cashed out a few customers in a row who purchased with gift cards. When the next person walked up, the clerk swiped the customer's actual credit card, picked up the scissors, and then cut it in off entirely on autopilot. Before looking up at the stunned customer and realizing what had just happened, another woman I came across in my research was a former preschool teacher who had switched to a corporate job. Even though she was now working with adults, her old habits would kick in and she kept asking co-workers if they had washed their hands after going to the bathroom. I also found the story of a man who had spent years working as a lifeguard and could occasionally walk whenever she saw a child running. Over time, the cues that spark our habits become so common that they are essentially invisible. The treats on the kitchen counter, the remote control next to the couch, the phone in our pocket, our responses to these cues are so deeply encoded that it may feel like the urge to act comes from nowhere. For this reason, we must begin the process of behavior change with awareness. Before we can before we can effectively build new habits, we need to get a handle on our current ones. This can be more challenging than it sounds because once a habit is firmly rooted in your life, it is mostly non conscious and automatic. If a habit remains mindless, you can't expect to improve it. As the psychologist Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.